Darkness is nothing to fear. In our darkest moments, we learn who we are. Hello everyone, Wicked back again with another DarkStar update and how-to. So today I want to show off Outpost building. There have been a great many enhancements in DarkStar for your outposts, and I'm getting ready to show them all off. Alright, so first and foremost, let's place our outpost beacon somewhere out in this middle section where it's a little bit sunken and flat, and boom. Oh, nope, I said boom. I meant boom. Okay. Now we have our outpost build radius set. And before I get going on that, I am going to show you some things in my inventory. Okay, here we go. So we have quantum rig. What are quantum rigs? Quantum rigs take an outpost structure that you build or you found a quantum rig, whatever, but it takes the outpost structure and sends it into extra dimensional space. It basically plays with its quantum state and desynchronizes it from your reality. And then you have this device that you can place down to spawn that thing back into existence at will. That is the kind of pseudo lore behind it. You can craft quantum rigs at any resource crafting bench. Let me show you that. So if I find or purchase a workbench quantum rig, I can then come to my resource crafting bench, place it down in a ship or at an outpost, and when I interact with it, I have the ability to build the legendary matrix, quantum harness, and then any quantum rig I wish, as well as particle cores and tool. The tools are used for research, and anything you want to place in your outpost, you can drop a tool, whatever, decorate a bit. But the critical things in DarkStar are all built here. So you can see the recipes to the right. I'm not going to go through each one of them. Some of them are quite expensive, and some of them even use other quantum rigs as component. For example, to build a landing pad that has workbenches and kiosks pre-attached, you have to supply it with workbench and kiosk quantum rig. Now my costs are reduced because I have max perks on this character, so yours may cost more. But this is how you can craft them. If you don't want to craft them, and I wouldn't blame you, they're expensive, you can purchase them for slightly more than what they would cost to craft at any DarkStar Services kiosk, which can be found at every city in the game, every settlement. New Atlantis, Aquila City, New Homestead, Sidonia, etc., etc., etc. So anywhere where you would find your typical shopping hubs, in those places you will find one of those quantum service kiosks, or DarkStar Service kiosk. But let's start with showing you the actual landing pads themselves, which are the critical piece that kind of anchor your outpost. So first I'm going to move this guy out of the way so that he doesn't give us obstruction issues. And later I might move him up to the top of my flight deck. Who knows? We go up to Omen, or we'll start with Plexus to start us off. So the Plexus is the smallest landing pad. It generates, as you can see in the top left, 125 power. That 125 power comes from that black cone with the flames inside of it. That is a generator, a quantum generator, if you will. It generates electricity, and it also generates atmosphere. You can see that it already has the same exact flight deck, observation deck, control deck, whatever you want to call it. I've heard it under all different names. It is called the control deck in the game files, but that control deck is pre-attached to all of my landing pad. On the Plexus, it is off to the side. If you pay attention to the very center, you will see an arrow and then a series of lights leading away from that arrow. That indicates which way your ship will face when it lands. If I place this, I can drag it into the sky, and then I can get it way up in the air, or bury it partway into the ground. However I position it, it's up to me. 2-click build, and I can dial its height. Next is the Nexus, which is very similar to the original DarkStar Terminus. This one, it has pre-attached storage, and it has its control deck. It has 2 of the cone devices, the generator devices, so it actually generates a total of 250 power. All flight decks, because of the control deck, also supply 6 crew stations the moment they're placed. So the moment I place this landing pad, I can assign crew here, I can power things, and I'd have generated atmosphere. And then the next is the Omen series. We have the V, which, as you can see, has the control deck on the right side and has the landing direction facing down towards me. And then the X is that same thing with some extras on the left. Just to point out, the hab that is pre-attached on the left there has no airlock door because of generated atmosphere. That's not necessary. And it cannot be attached to. Does not have snap points built in, and that is because of the nature of how I had to construct this and control it for performance reasons. I will investigate ways to make that snappable in the future, but for now, it is not snappable. And then there is the horizontal orientation, or the H series Omen, where the ship lands facing to the left, and this will facilitate extremely long ships. I will have more details about how long ships are possible in my next video. For now, just know that there are 3 Omen variations that have a different orientation for landing versus control deck versus what is pre-attached. We're going to go with the V series for the rest of our demonstration. So here's our V. I will place it and drag it into the sky. Notice my camera jumped way up because I'm moving a very large thing. Now, on Xbox, this is 100% doable. I did it on Xbox. I play tested on Xbox. But I will warn you that a device this large being placed on Xbox is a little bit laggy during the placement process. Once it's in place, you're good. But trying to place it and get it into the sky like this, it may and probably will cause you a little bit of lag. So I'll just place it here. Now, before I go up top, I'm also going to show you cargo link. Cargo links work in much the same way, where I can place one and drag it into the sky. And there's a cargo link. Same thing works for inter-system cargo link. They just require fuel as per normal. So there's 2 cargo links. Now, also, before I go up top, I wanted to show you something about habs. Now, I'm underneath all 3 of these devices. I can build down here. This is normal space. The foundation trick that I'm using is I am using a small volume layer, is what it's called, that is non-collision, and that is stacked up vertically underneath the center of each of these pads. So as far as the game's aware, it's stacked on thin air, which goes down and slightly sinks into the terrain. It's not visible, it affects nothing, and it does not disturb nav mesh and does not disturb collision layers. So you can walk around underneath, do whatever you want, anytime you want, build underneath of it, build a whole city down here and a whole city up there, whatever you want to do. All right, so let's get a hab airlock. So I wanted to point this out because this is a good example of everything going on in this mod. I have an airlock, it's 2-click build. Normal one is anyways. But notice there's no foundation forming and no catwalk stair spiral coming off the front edge. Now, if I'm building this in thin air like this, I can place it and leave it there. That means I have to fly up to it. If I don't want to do that, I need to make sure that the steps line up with something I can stand on. That is your choice. But we can do some fun tricks with it. Now, all of the hab foundations behave the same way. So you can place them in the air, you can place them on the ground, you can attach all of the habs to a normal airlock if you're going to be on the ground and want, foot entry into it. And that's especially important if you want your crew to be able to go from the ground to your hab. But if you're building on top here, I needed a special trick to make that possible. Now, normal habs trying to spawn their foundations and everything with the 3D graphics, the foundation will intersect with this and say that it's obstructed or that it intersects another object, and the foundation prevents placement. Because the foundation attempts to spawn, right, I can't just place it here. It doesn't work. It doesn't even try and render up here. And that's because it's down there on the ground below me. So it's down on the ground. I can't see where it's at, but I can drag it up through the deck. Just takes a little bit of practice and trickery. So like with anything, it's got the flip orientation. So as soon as I flip it down away from it and back to it, the catwalk is now pointing to me. If I do this, the catwalk would still be pointing to the right, towards that direction. If I flip it like this, now the catwalk is facing towards me. So what I want to do is get the catwalk facing towards me. Don't build on the center if you want your airlock centered here. You want to build just off to the left, and with experimentation, you'll get it right. I usually don't, but I'm just going to go with whatever it gives me. The second thing to keep in mind, oh, that's almost centered. The second thing to keep in mind is you have to drag it just far enough to be out of the ground, right? If it's sunken in, everything will be sunken in, and actually you can get the airlock here. If it's this low, it's not going to snap to the industrial habs, because the industrial habs floors will intersect with the flight deck and won't be placeable. So I want to be able to snap habs to this. I also want to make sure that I'm low enough that it interrupts nav mesh. So there is nav mesh on this entire deck. Nav mesh tells NPCs how they can walk and move. If I don't interrupt that with the habs structure, then NPCs your crew will still think I can walk through there, and they'll just constantly run into the hab and not be able to, go anywhere. So you want to make sure you touch the deck with your build, and that you can also snap with your hab. So the sweet spot for the airlock for industrial habs, which is the ones I care about, is just about here. You can see where the white bottom outline kind of starts cutting into the curve on that bottom left corner. See how the curve kind of trims down? You want to just start that process right about there. So at that point, it should snap to an industrial hab. So I'll go into this build mode to make it easier. You can kind of see how it's there. There's nothing underneath. It didn't pass some false foundation through. I'll go to my large hex. Now this is my favorite hab in the game, bar none. Not even a competition. It's not fair to the rest of the game that thing exists. I don't know that this one will snap. And it won't, because it's these little things here. Those vents are a little bit above the surface, so they are actually interrupting this guy. So what I'll do is I'll put smaller hex on the bottom so I can demonstrate that to you as well. Come on down here. Let's rotate. We'll put that there. We'll go back to the right and put him up here. Okay. And then we will go with the science tab here and the hydroponic tab above it. I'll go with this science tab here and his hydroponic tab above him. Here I will go with the closed plant walled science tab and the hydroponic science tab there. And off the back deck here. Oh, what is it building? Oh, it's trying to put that guy there. No, thank you. We'll put him here. Come on out. That's our military hab. We'll have him floating out here in the middle of nowhere. Whoa. As you can see, it's like pushing the limits of the build height here. All right, so I want this guy out here. I don't even know where he's trying to build right now. Let me switch build views. Go out here, buddy. There we go. And then on top, we'll put the single height. And actually, you know what? For funsies, we'll put an airlock here. So, I can airlock right out onto my roof. Doesn't interrupt anything on the inside. I can switch the walls to the window types that I want. I can make a big door. Big doors, the medium and the large size, do still have nav mesh issues with it through. I'm still working on a way to fix that. I know Misso is working on a way to fix that with her mod. So once I find a solution, that will be part of a future update. For now, if you need your crew to pass through there, you can put a carpet or a floor mat across this gap, and usually that fixes it. I'm just walking around slowly, letting you see the different habs until I get to my big, very happy about it hab over there. So I did spend a lot of time building this next one. A lot of these are just recolors, a little bit of cleaning up, and they're cool and all. They fit the DarkStar aesthetic really well. This one, however, was built from scratch from the ground up. So this is a 2-story large hex hab with stairs up and down, and I love it. I build this every time I build an outpost now. I make sure I have one of these involved, because yeah, like at a certain point you just gotta say, why wouldn't you? But no, with it having stairs, it's a good central point for your outpost. Oh yeah, that guy doesn't like to reattach once he's detached. That is a bug with that type of hab. I will fix that in a future update, not critical for today. Not going to stop anybody from building an outpost. There we have it. So you can see some of the science habs are a little brighter on the interior. I figured they are science laboratories. That's their purpose in life. So they should probably have lots of good lighting. And, you know, if you wanted to build your workbenches in here and, you know, build out a nice little scientific research laboratory, you can do that now, and it'll look, you know, appropriate. If you have, you know, you want to build bedrooms and stuff, I would recommend use the hydroponic app. Keep an eye on your outpost while you're chilling. There's lots of good going on here that I really, really love. The round laboratory has intentionally black walls until you turn on the windows. That way you can choose which appearance pack you kind of want. It gets very bright with the metallic walls, of course, because they all reflect light. But again, if you're building a space that is going to be a laboratory, why not brighten it up? And then we have the science habs up top, or the hydroponic habs up top. You can see it's more of a dark, deep red and copper floor with the glass ceilings and walls. And the same for the square hab. Okay, let's go back outside. Where's our doorway? There it is. So things I'll be working on in the future for an update will be, I will be trying to get snap points functional on the Omen, on the pre-built hab on the Omen, on the Omen X. I will also be working on streamlining and kind of standardizing the lighting effect on the interior of all of the habs. Right now, all of the default habs have their vanilla lighting volumes and effects. So I'll be tweaking those and making them a little more pliable in certain places, toning down the lighting some, I think, in the science habs, and upping it a little bit in some of the larger, darker habs. Right now, the double hex has no lighting volumes applied at all. I'd love to hear feedback if that is what you prefer. I can do that to all of them quite easily. And that would easily standardize everything. That lets you rely exclusively on the placed lights, the light sources, so the actual things you can see. I am open to community preference on that. Yeah, there we have it. There's the hab structure available in this mod. Personally, I like it quite a bit. I got a lot of good feedback during the beta and alpha testing on these. These are definitely going to change the way I build outposts. And just to prove the point, nothing underneath. So I could build my city up here, exclusive to me. I could tell my crew to live up here. Or I can have a completely different outpost on the ground, whatever I want to do. So if you're in a place that has nice resource gathering underneath, you can fill this whole space with resource gathering devices. Also, pro tip for those that weren't aware, you can grab that outpost beacon, come on top of your deck. Now it's going to show red. I've done this on Xbox and PC. If you want your crew to spawn up here by default, your humans, just come up here, flip it off the side and back on. Sometimes it takes a few attempts. Once it turns white like this, you're good. It will hover above the pad because it's got its own, this is the vanilla thing, and it has its own invisible foundation. You saw how the concrete reappears, right? That's what it's sitting on. But when it's white and it's placeable, it goes invisible. See that? And I like to put mine here, and boom. Because occasionally, even if you have your crew summoned up here, occasionally they're going to want to walk over and, you know, use a little hand scanner and check this guy and all of that. And like if I'm out and I find a new crewmate, I assign them to my outpost. They're going to spawn here when I arrive. They'll be standing next to it. So while you can summon them back up, and you will occasionally need to do that because sometimes they'll just jump off the side. But you can always put this up top and you'll spawn up here and your crew will spawn up here. So you can put a little teleport button on the ground, but depending on how you build your outpost, you don't need to. Speaking of teleport buttons, they're buildable in the Outpost build menu. Oh, and by the way, notice all of this is being done from a DarkStar tab in my Outpost list. So if I go to my teleport button, I can place one, for example, right here outside the door and say, you know what? I've walked all the way over here. I want to go back. There's one out here. And I can also put one on the inside. I can build 5 of these. 3 of these, sorry. I have one built on the inside here, and maybe I want one upstairs. Maybe I want one right here. And now, any of these that I click, if I can control my camera, I'm all the way back here at my control deck. So I don't have the reverse teleporter. I will work on I actually want to build that. So at some point in the future, there will be a different one of these that you can place down at your outpost, and then you can link to that, but there will only ever be 2. And that's because those teleport buttons, what they're doing is they're saying, hey, I've been clicked. Let me find the nearest outpost beacon. Mr. Outpost Beacon, find me the nearest teleport destination pad. And then, so they're linking that way. So any teleport pair that I let you build has to be a distinct pair. So I'll work on something like that as a future update, but for now, you get the 1 built into the landing pad. And a simple reminder, this is your crew summon button, and any crew assigned to this outpost will spawn here when that button is clicked. Next would be the rest of the build menu. So we have storage that can be built. It can be snapped on over there. It can be built down on the ground, brought into the sky. So, for example, it will snap out here. Flip it to the next type. Eventually, the graphics of these will be switched to match, but for now, that was considered low priority and not worth delaying the release. But you can attach as many of these more as you want. Now, currently I've got it set to a limit of 9 additional storage per outpost. That is because these hold 100,000 inventory, and with the landing pad and 9 more of them, that is 1 million storage, which is way more than anybody should ever reasonably expect to have at their outpost. It's ridiculous. You can also build up to 2 more linked and 4 more unlinked chests. So linked, for those unfamiliar, means that it links up to your outpost storage at this outpost, whatever's in this chest. The unlinked, or the secure, anything in here cannot be seen by your workbenches. So if you have armor, weapons, things like that you don't want to accidentally craft on or consume at a Mark II bench, Mark III bench, then put them in one of these devices. Now, the graphics on these will be completely replaced in the future. This is a placeholder set of graphics. They work just fine as they are. When they are on the landing pads, they are actually material swapped to have a slightly different appearance. In some cases. Like, there you go, that one's more black. But at the end of the day, I've always, from day one, considered these to be placeholders. They will get their own appearance in the future. Again, extremely low priority. It's not a functionality thing, it's just an appearance thing. They will get tweaked when I have time. We've already gone over cargo links. Those do function. They got a huge battery of testing. Next, let's talk about the workbenches. So these are crew usable workbenches. Those are the ones you're able to build. So there's crew usable workbenches for all of the default. They're just recolors of the default benches. You still have access to the crafting tab, so you can still build the actual default benches if you choose. Then there are the DarkStar craft resource and legendary crafting benches in their own set of flip. There's the apparel and armor crafting section with all 4 of those benches, and the weapon and ammo crafting section with all 4 of those benches. Below that, we have the codex processor, which I'll come back to in a moment. We have kiosk. So all of the Tranquility, that uses a menu that's basically, it's an exact replica of it going to a Tranquility store in game. Same thing with Caribou. Same thing with chunks. These are just here for flavor if you choose to use them. The DarkStar Services kiosk is identical to the one that comes pre-installed. You can build 1 more of them at your outpost anywhere. And with the TA kiosk, you can build up to as many as you wish. Now, the reason is, building these does not give you new inventory. This services kiosk links up with the same inventory as the services kiosk already at that outpost. That includes if you go and destroy everything at your outpost but leave the beacon, and then you rebuild everything at your outpost hoping to get fresh inventory, that's not going to work for you. You can destroy and replace this as many times as you want. If you come into this and you buy the Astra spacesuit, it's gone from here. I can reopen this one as many times as I want. Astra is gone. I can come over to this one, open this inventory, Astra is gone. And that is because they share inventory. They share credit, they share inventory, they share everything. If I destroy this one and replace it again, Astra is still gone. So just to prove that point, you can reset the inventory on both of these simultaneously by resting for 1 UT day. That's it, just 1 day, not 2, not long wait periods. And if you're here on Venus, that's 1 hour. You'll reset these in no time flat. But I needed to remove the ability to exploit vendor availability on things, especially since Services Kiosk sells codexes that you've learned to craft. Any codex you've unlocked the recipe for, it can be sold here. It won't always. It's random. Sometimes they don't spawn. Sometimes it spawns multiple copies. Sometimes it only spawns one. Right? But if you've learned how to craft codex, they're available here to just purchase. And it also sells quantum rigs. TA Kiosk behaves the same way. It shares inventory with every TA Kiosk at that location. So if I buy both of these blue labor jumpsuits, they're going to be gone from both terminals. So if I want to put a TA Kiosk over there in front of my buildings, over there on top of my cargo link, another one on that cargo link, another one on the ground, I can do whatever I want. They all share inventory. So let's talk about the codex processor. We know that we have one built in here, a full machine. What do I mean by full machine? Well, we've got the placed variation and the built variation. You can only have one of each in a given location. So in one outpost, you can have one placed that's pre-attached to a landing pad, and you can have one built by you anywhere in that outpost. You can build one in your ship as well. When you go to build one, it comes in 5 pieces. You have the codex processing box, the weapon output box, the armor output box, the legendary codex output box, and the activator. You do not need to build all 5 of these. You don't. You only need to build this one container. Now, when you put items in this container and it closes, it looks and checks nearby, again, grabbing the outpost beacon or the ship that you're in, it goes and looks nearby for any activator of the built series. So if it sees a built activator, it won't do anything more when it closes. It will wait. When you click the activator, it says, hey, find my container. If it can find it, then it will process anything in that container. So if this is present, this won't auto process. If this is present by itself, it won't do anything. This has to have a chest, this input container to link to do anything. Because it's basically sending a signal over to this container saying, hey, process your internal. And so he picks up everything that's inside him, processes up to 25 armor, up to 25 weapons simultaneously. And then when it's done, it outputs the result. Well, when it goes to output the results, it looks and sees, do I have a weapon box nearby? Do I have an armor box nearby? And do I have a codex box nearby? If it has weapon box and nothing else, any weapons it processes, the stripped weapons will go here. The codexes would go to your inventory. If it doesn't see the armor box and doesn't see the codex box. If it's processing armor and doesn't see an armor box, the armor goes to your inventory and the codexes go to your inventory. So any one of these boxes that's missing, it skips trying to use them and puts them in your inventory instead. So what that means is I can have a codex machine on my ship that is nothing more than this box right here. That's it. This is all I need. Every time it goes to process, it looks for those other components. So if you destroy one of the components, you're not breaking the machine. You're just changing how it processes. So you have to have this to process codexes unless it's one of the placed, right? If it's pre-built into your deck, then you're good. That one's good. You don't need to build anything. But if you want to build it over in those halves or in your ship, you need only place this. You can build the other components if you wish. That's your choice. You don't have to. And now the bonus feature of the Omen X and Omen V. Because the flight deck, control deck is located here where it is, you get one extra feature. And that is this little guy right here. Got these scanners and these waveguides built into it. A little medical device here. Your NPCs will sometimes come and stand here. Your crew, they'll stand here and inspect this thing. Another one will come and inspect this thing. Well, this is the DarkStar Bioenhancer. It is enhanced. There we have it. You have outpost landing pads that generate atmosphere and generate power and can come pre-attached to crew stations, crafting stations, everything you need as a one-stop shop. They were designed to just drop an outpost or drop it at an outpost with no other building and have full ability to sleep, wait, purchase, sell, craft, strip legendaries, stow gear, have crew assigned to the outpost, build ships, everything. Power resource devices if you wanted to build them. Put turrets up here powered by your landing pad. Whatever you want to do. Pre-built for you, an outpost in a box. And then if you want to continue and build habs, I built those for you too. If you want cargo link, I built those for you too. More will come later, but this is what we have today. Personally, I think it's pretty awesome. So, with that, bid you all good day. I appreciate all of you, and thank you so much for your support. Peace.